All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling one of the most incredible subjects out there, the study of the very thing that's letting you understand my voice right now, your own mind. So, what on earth is actually going on in there?
Oh, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The bizarre thoughts that pop into your head, those completely weird dreams, the moments you say something and wonder, where did that come from? The little gears in your mind are always turning. But why? What's the deal?
Go on, admit it. When most of us hear the word psychology, this is the image that pops up, right? Someone lying on a couch and a therapist, probably a guy with a neat beard and some glasses, just kind of nodding along. You're likely picturing Sigmund Freud. And look, while he was an absolute giant in the field, that's just one tiny piece of a much bigger puzzle. So let's get off the couch and really dig into the heart of it all. What is psychology really? Where did it even come from? And what is it trying to figure out about us?
Here it is, the modern definition. And the key word there is science. This isn't just about feelings or dreams anymore. It's a rigorous scientific discipline. It covers everything from how our brains are wired to why we act the way we do, and even what it means to be a thinking, feeling person. I love this slide because it just boils the origin story down so perfectly. For thousands of years, people asked these huge philosophical questions about the mind. But psychology, as we know it, was born at the exact moment we started using experiments, the scientific method, to try and find some real answers. And wow, this has been a long time coming. Humans have always been endlessly curious about themselves. I mean, from Aristotle thinking consciousness was in the heart, oops, little off there, to early psychological exams in China, to doctors in Persia describing mental illness. But look at that last date. As an official science, psychology is actually the new kid on the block. So yeah, if there's one year to remember, it's 1879. This is the moment Wilhelm Wundt opens the very first psychology lab in Germany. It's the official starting gun because it's when we stopped just wondering about the mind and started actually measuring it.
So, now that psychology is a real science, the debates start almost immediately. The early days were basically a big clash of different schools of thought, all arguing over the right way to study the human mind.
And this quote just nails it. The field isn't about finding one single correct answer. It's this messy, diverse, and incredible melting pot of ideas. And honestly, all those debates are what make it so powerful.
Okay, so the first big showdown was between these two camps. On one side, you had Wundt's structuralism. They were trying to make a map of the mind by breaking it down into its most basic parts. Their main tool was introspection, basically asking people to report exactly what they were thinking and feeling. But that's kind of subjective, right? So along comes functionalism, led by William James, asking a much more practical question. Forget what it's made of. Why do we think and feel? What's the purpose of it all?
And then Freud shows up, and he just turns everything on its head. His whole psychoanalytic theory was frankly revolutionary. This idea that we're driven by an unconscious mind, by desires and motives we don't even know we have, that was a total game changer. He said our personalities are forged in early childhood, and maybe, just maybe, some mental struggles could be treated just by talking about them. He called it the talking cure, and it seemed to work for patients like the famous Anna O.
But, not everyone was sold on digging around in the invisible, unconscious mind. The next big shakeup was behaviorism. Thinkers like B.F. Skinner came along and said, whoa, hold on. If you can't see it and measure it, it's not science. They argued that psychology should only study observable behavior, period. So we've got all these huge, competing ideas. But how do psychologists actually find answers? How do you go from just a hunch to a real scientific conclusion? Well, they use a very specific set of tools. Because as it turns out, you just can't trust your gut. I hate to break it to you, but our intuition, as powerful as it feels, can be incredibly misleading. We're all vulnerable to these little mental shortcuts and biases that get in the way of seeing the world as it really is. For instance, have you ever looked back after something happened and thought, oh yeah, I totally knew that was going to happen? That's hindsight bias. We're also just wildly overconfident in what we think we know. And our brains are wired to see patterns, which means we'll find streaks in totally random things like flipping a coin. That's exactly why we need a better system. And that system is the scientific method. It's this structured process that takes us from a simple question to a testable idea. But you know what the real secret sauce is? That last step, replication. If other scientists can run your same experiment and get the same results, then you know you're really onto something solid. So to collect all that data, psychologists have a few different methods in their toolkit. They might do a really deep dive on one single person, which is a case study, or they might just watch people in their natural habitats. Think of it like people watching, but for science. They can also just ask people directly with surveys. But the real powerhouse, the best tool for figuring out what causes what, is the experiment.
Okay, let's use a kind of silly example to get at a super important idea. Let's say your friend eats some pizza that's been in the fridge for a while, and a little later he starts telling you he sees green armadillos with laser eyes. You might think, aha, the old pizza caused the hallucinations. But can you really be sure? What you've just seen is a correlation. The two things, eating the pizza and seeing the armadillos, happen together. A correlation points to a possible link, but it doesn't prove one thing caused the other. I mean, maybe your friend also hadn't slept for 2 days, and that was the real reason. See the problem?
Proving causation is the real goal. That means you've shown, without a doubt, that event A is the direct cause of event B. And if you take one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this. Seriously, say it with me. Correlation is not causation. It's such an easy trap to fall into, but a sharp mind knows to watch out for it.
Okay, so let's bring it all home. We've looked at the history, the big arguments, the tools of the trade. What does this all mean for how we understand ourselves right here, right now? Well, modern psychology isn't about picking a team anymore. You don't have to be Team Freud or Team Skinner. It's an integrative science. Today's psychologists borrow ideas from all those different schools of thought. They look at neuroscience, cognition, behaviors, social influences to attack complex questions from every possible angle. And this quote, wow, it just puts everything in perspective, doesn't it? This is an astronomer, someone who studies the vastness of space, galaxies, and black holes, saying that the 3-pound chunk of matter between your ears is the most complicated thing we have ever discovered, anywhere. And that, to me, is the most amazing part of all. Every single one of us has been given one of these impossibly complex, incredible things to navigate the world with. Psychology is our ongoing quest to figure it out, and that journey always begins with curiosity. Thanks for joining me on this one.